Hello, and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting on episode 5 of Dungeon Meshi. If you'd like to watch along, then start watching now. Alright, so last time we left off, there's that whole business with the orcs, and I guess it's interesting because the orcs here are very different from orcs as I normally think of them, and I guess there's a fair bit of nuance in that orcs aren't totally evil. You know, they're certainly not good, but they're also not without redeeming features. Now, interestingly, we've decided to focus on some new characters. I mean, we've seen this one guy here in the opening animation, so I guess he's got to be important in some way, but I guess at the outset we don't really know much. Alright, so I think that's something, you know. We're having our expectations set that, you know, this guy might be the sort of person to slay that magician and fix everything, basically. And I guess it's also sort of telling that rather than run his mouth and say like, oh yeah, sure, we'll kill that wizard, he's just sort of humble, bordering on non-committal. But I think he's got the right idea here. You know, actions speak louder than words. Sure, you can say all you want that you're gonna kill a wizard and do all that stuff and conquer the dungeon, but none of that matters if you don't actually do anything. So I'm wondering if perhaps these characters, this sort of ad hoc party here, if they're going to be essentially competition with Lias and company, or if rather, you know, they too might learn the ways of eating dungeon stuff. So, I mean, already, you know, they're taking some provisions with them, and they're complaining that, you know, it's heavy, it's bulky, there's a whole lot to carry. Yeah. You know, I guess that little horror story doesn't hold water. You know, why would adventurers looking for food eat and kill other adventurers when they can just sort of find edible monsters? Granted, you know, you can only do that with certain monsters, you know. I feel like most people would have a moral quandary about eating an orc, for example. And at the same time, I don't think there's much about a zombie that's edible. You know, at least not without causing wider issues. Like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like starving would actually be the better option. Or at least, you know, going hungry for the time being. Now that is actually interesting. You know, what would a zombie carry around? And I guess, incidentally, it is treasure, you know, silver, gold, gemstones. I guess the question is, why? You know, is it something that the zombie held on to in its previous life, or what? I mean, I know you generally shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth, but I feel like there's something slightly suspicious about that. Now that's interesting. You know, with this windfall, they're deciding to head back. I feel like if your goal is ultimately to conquer the dungeon, you know, seeing as how the day has already been paid for, you might as well head back. Alright, well, here we go. You know, clearly something had happened to them. And, everybody seems to have their own pet theory, whether it was some sort of invisible attacker that doesn't leave a mark, they passed out due to starvation, or they fell out over the money. Are they actually dead? I wonder. I mean, it certainly seems like it, I suppose. Okay. So it seems like the gold itself was no good. That's interesting. You know, that little mollusk in the sword, it seems to understand that something's up here. So, you know, clearly there's something bad here that only the little mollusk is keenly aware of. Ooh. That's actually very interesting. I would have assumed it would have been more of a mystical threat, but no, it seems they're all insects that take the form of valuables. Uh-oh. Alright, well, you know, good on Marcel for acting quickly to stun everything. You know, just a shame she committed friendly fire in the process. Although I can't say I blame her, you know, a pearl necklace sort of, unfurling itself and revealing itself to be a segmented insect, like... Honestly, your better bet is probably to just squash it. Now that is interesting, you know, Elias, he isn't willing to reveal the secret of his sword. I mean, I don't think anybody would bear him too much ill will regarding that. Oh. Ooh, you know what, I'm with Marcel on this one. No good is gonna come from this. I mean, he can just tell which ones are edible. Like, there's no way it's gonna be good. Like, I mean, sure, bugs might have protein to them and all that. They also have chitin, you know. That's not good. It's not good for you. I mean, sure, you could probably eat it, and it might beat out starvation, but... Man... Yeah, you know, thinking about it, that is actually an interesting biological thing. Like, the coins have different designs, and by looking at that, you can determine the sex of the insect. I mean, I think it's more interesting than anything else that they actually have coherent designs that could be mistaken for actual currency. Now I'm wondering whether or not Marcel's actually going to relent and eat this stuff. So I get the feeling the answer's no, and I I steadfastly agree with her. There's something not right about how you can just sort of like chop up that tiara and it like leaks fluid and stuff. That is not right. Yeah, I really hope they do find and cook something a little bit more appetizing. If this is all we get, it's rather gross. So, that's an interesting phenomenon, that monsters inside the dungeon taste good, and they don't really taste that good outside the dungeon. I'm wondering how you could possibly explain that other than there must be something in the dungeon low in the food chain that sort of filters its way up that doesn't exist on the surface. Yeah, I'm not sure what sort of phenomenon would lead to something like that. Now that's an interesting thought, I guess, that the little mollusk on the sword reacted because these things are sort of like biological competitors. I guess that makes sense in a way. Although, yeah, this is just sort of bizarre behavior on Laius's part. I mean, it certainly looks like that anyways. Yeah, like live Marcel reaction to that information. I can't say I blame her. You shouldn't get too friendly with the sword, I feel like. It is a tool after all. Oh. Oh. Oh, no. You can't possibly eat real gems, so naturally you just have to toss them away. Oh. What kind of a dwarf would throw away real gold and gems? That is very undwarf-like behavior. I think Senshi is, actually an outcast. That would explain this bizarre behavior to just not at least hang on to gold and gems. So, there was mention of the undead earlier, specifically ghosts. I'm wondering if they're gonna make a little appearance here. I don't know how they could possibly eat a ghost, except maybe eating like ectoplasm left behind, but something tells me it wouldn't be tasty or nutritious in any way. Okay, so that's something. Those adventurers really had died and they were just sort of like left there. So I'm wondering what actually killed them. Was it the bugs? Did they get like bitten to death or something? And I guess more to the point, we're also sort of reminded that this whole expedition is to find Fallen and save her. We don't have this big sort of ticking time clock element where she is like on the verge of being digested, but at the same time, saving her sooner would be better. So I guess I'm wondering if maybe these ghosts did play a role in killing those adventurers. I mean, these guys, they're definitely disquiet spirits, which is something alright. Ghosts are pretty gnarly to deal with. You can't exactly kill them. But, yeah, I guess case in point, Fallen was the person who could handle ghosts on account of wielding presumably holy magic. It's also nice seeing some of these old party members who just sort of up and left at the beginning. You know, we didn't really learn much about them. And I guess this is a good little reminder about, in part, why they want to save Falin. You know, she is Laius' sister and their friend, and she's dead and all that, but she was also a good person, as evidenced by this. You know, rather than just blasting ghosts as they appear, she wants to sort of prevent them from possessing people, which ultimately seems like the better approach. And additionally, you know, when they come across a zombie, rather than just kill them, as many are wont to do, she seems to be prepared to exorcise it, which, you know, definitely takes some extra effort. Yeah, you know, I think that's something that's kind of sorely missing from the party as things stand. This sort of devotion to higher principles. Because, I mean, sure, Lice and everybody want Fallen back, and that's good in its own right, but she's willing to essentially preserve the sanctity of the dead, you know? When you die for good, you know, you kind of deserve to rest in peace. I was almost going to say live. You're not doing that if you're dead. But, unfortunately, her temperament and skill set were kind of the line, and without her around, you know, I feel like dealing with ghosts and the undead is that much harder. Something tells me that blowing up the ghost with magic, that's sort of an inefficient use of Marcel's stamina too. You know, that magic would be better spent doing other things. You know, you don't waste a fireball spell on a rat, you know? I guess fortunately, you know, Senshi is prepared in a bizarre sense. You know, he's not a priest or anything so far as we know, but he knows how to make holy water. And something tells me that this is less like blessing water to make holy water and more of an alchemical process. Because I'd imagine there's got to be some basis in why these things infused in water repel the undead. You know, the blessings do it too, but I feel like that's sort of what we're leading up to. Yeah, so it's kind of a mix of both. You know, alcohol is an offering to the gods, you offer that, but it also has disinfective properties. So, you know, it's a little bit of column A and column B. Sure, since you might not be a priest and you might not be blessing it or invoking divine protection, but, you know, there's all this stuff that should, in theory, repel the undead, and, you know, why not? I do like this approach. You know, it's sort of, explaining the divine in a sense, but still leaving room for it to be beyond human understanding. Now, I guess the only question is whether his ad hoc holy water works. I kind of like how these ghosts are portrayed, you know, they're kind of creepy, and I guess it's understandable in a sense, seeing as how they are disquiet spirits, but like they just sort of grab you, you know, nothing big or flashy. I mean, I guess the added horror is that everybody, as they are on the verge of dying, sort of has their life flash before their eyes, or at least in this case Laius does. Okay, so it's the ghosts invoking this. You know, they're sort of luring you with visions of other departed people. And I guess rather than splashing the water on them as I would have expected, he's just sort of bludgeoning them with the container. You know, I feel like that might be a step too far. I think they would actually have to splash him with the water, but you know what? I'm not sure how I feel about what Elias is saying, because I guess in a sense he's right. You shouldn't lament the fact that Falin isn't around because things would be easier. I mean, it is true. Her skills would be uniquely useful in this situation. But at the same time, you know, that's not the only reason you want her back. I feel like Elias is being kind of harsh on himself and everybody. You know, I guess that is a good point, seeing as how ghosts can pass through walls and are otherwise intangible. The holy water jar passing through them would do sort of the same thing. Well, that's interesting. You know, it was sort of shaken into becoming ice cream. Yeah, I mean, I guess, why not? Eat while, you have the opportunity. I mean, I think I'm with Marcel and Chilchuk. You know, I wouldn't necessarily want to eat something that's come into contact with evil spirits like that, just on principle. But at the same time, I guess it wouldn't hurt. Yeah, you know, I feel like with something like this, knowing what's been put in it as an ingredient, I feel like I'd want to know less. You know, if it tastes good, let's leave it at that. Yeah, that is kind of a messed up thing to say on Laius's part. You know, if Fallen were here, we wouldn't have this food. That's like... Clearly the food is not worth her life. Yeah, everybody's right to chastise him for that. Man, you know, I think Laius is just like a low wisdom, low charisma character here. Alright, well that's it for this episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, tune in for the next one. See you, Space Cowboy.